to kick off tonight, covering hopefully everything you need to know on finding how to find a permanent role when you move to Australia. We're going to do a general overview of everything, and by the end of it, you'll be able to know what your next steps are and who you need to contact, and I think you'll get a really good understanding of the support that we're able to offer you. So to kick off, we're really lucky. We've got 3 of our Australian experts joining us tonight, so it's going to be really valuable to you. To introduce myself, I am a New Zealand trained primary school teacher. I trained in Palmy at Massey University and then taught in New Zealand for 3 years. Scrimped and saved and saved enough money to go to London. So I lived and worked in London for a couple of years, and then came back to New Zealand, where I've been sort of supporting educators who are looking to travel ever since. So I'm based in the Auckland office, and I'm here on the ground to support you from this side. But we've got a big team, as you'll soon find out, on the Australian side. So I'm going to hand over to Hannah to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. I am also, funnily enough, a New Zealand trained primary teacher. So I come from a background of teaching predominantly in New Zealand, and have done a little bit of time, much like Claire, in the UK before landing in Melbourne, where I started with ANZUK UK and have been there for coming up 3 years now. And I work in the Victorian team, so I support educators in both metro and regional areas of Victoria. And I'll hand over to Cal.
Thank you. Another ex-teacher here. I originally a health and PE teacher, ended up teaching a little bit of primary for about 2 years. I've been with ANZUK UK for almost 7 years now. I was in the Melbourne team, but I've come back up to Sydney. Been here for 2 years, and I'm the regional manager, so look after a lot of the school's operations and recruitment, mostly around Sydney, and then we've got a regional team as well, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Jake.
Thank you very much, Cal. I'm the baby at ANZUK UK. I've only been at ANZUK UK for 5 months now. However, I started as a high school English teacher in regional Western Australia, coming over from Tassie at one point. High school English teacher, ended up going into the remote system, becoming a deputy principal, and then a principal out in the regions. And then for the last 3 years, I was a principal in metropolitan Perth in a big primary school. So have worked across the state, and now working for ANZUK UK, supporting teachers, finding positions, everything from in the city all the way out into the desert in the far-flung parts of Western Australia.
Great, thanks, Jake.
This one was me. So ANZUK UK, we've just operated, I think just ticked over our 20 years. So originally it was set up, our CEO, he sent teachers over to the UK and ended up having quite a few come back, and I guess looking for support originally in Melbourne, where our biggest office is. So in the last 20 years, that's definitely grown significantly. We've got 300 staff globally. We've got, obviously, we're set up in New Zealand. We've got, I'm not sure how many around Australia. It's 5 or 6 in different states around. I guess a couple hundred consultants. We've got, obviously, offices in the UK as well. I went over and taught in the UK as well. And then USA, that's under a different name called Scoot as well. So, we're definitely, I guess, Australia's biggest education. We're just specifically education, so education recruitment company.
Tonight, as I said, we'll hopefully cover everything you need to know. I'm just letting people in at the same time, sorry. We'll go through what you need to do to be able to transition from New Zealand to Australia. I know we do have a couple of other geographies on here, which we can sort of go into a bit more detail later on. We're going to talk about what the perm team does and how they work. It's a really easy process for you as an educator trying to find a role. work opportunities, what kind of schools we work with, where we can support you, and the types of roles that we offer. And then we're also going to go into a little bit on pay, what to expect, and the types of the conditions. And there's a tiny little bit of hot jobs on there for you as well. And we'll finish off with Q&A at the end. So you could pop questions in as we go. We could try and get to them on the chat, so we can sort of be chipping away at those. Otherwise, we will have time at the end. So we'll keep moving along.
Right, so I'm going to talk about making the transition over to Australia. So for most of you that are on here, if you're coming from a New Zealand base, it is fairly straightforward if you're a New Zealand passport holder. So there's really nothing you need to do if you hold that New Zealand passport. Just jump on the plane and jump off the other sides. As you come through the gates there, it's all automatic these days. So you don't have to fill anything out in the lead up or anything like that. If you are based in New Zealand or in other geographies, holding different passports, there are a few different pathways that you can come over on. We can't give you migration advice, as only registered migration agents are able to do that, but we are happy to refer you through to a migration agent that we work really closely with. So I would encourage you, when you're connected with your consultant, just to let them know your circumstance, what you're looking for, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction there. A couple of those different pathways are around sort of the 189 or the 190 permanent visas that you can get, but again, your individual circumstance will sort of influence there what you're eligible for, and a migration agent will probably be best placed to be able to guide you there. We've popped sponsorship down there. Now, again, this sort of ebbs and flows depending on what state you're looking at and what opportunities are available, but there are certainly some out there. So if that's a pathway that you're wanting to go down, again, just let your consultant know and they'll be able to guide you as best they can there.
So just touching on the differences with the Australian education system, there's more things that are the same than different, really. Something that we need to get used to is they don't have a country registration, they have individual state registration bodies. So you have to decide where you're going to go and then register with that individual state. We are lucky to have a mutual recognition agreement with Australia. So it means that if you are registered as a teacher here, you will be registered as a teacher in Australia and your status will be reflected. So if you're fully registered here, you will be recognised you should be recognised as a fully registered teacher in Australia. We're going to touch a little bit on those state registrations coming up. Generally, Australia have a 4-year degree for teacher training. So if you're a new grad coming through and you've done a graduate diploma, then you are able to apply directly to Australia without paying for the New Zealand registration, but I can talk to you about that in more detail. The Australian curriculum, again, that varies state by state as well, but they are on an exam-based curriculum rather than NCEA, and their academic year is really in line with us, so it does make it nice and easy to time it if you are looking for a permanent role for moving for one of the terms. So if you could pop into the chat again, just so we know who we've got on the call, what you teach, so whether you're a primary teacher or if you're secondary and your subject specialisms. I'm not sure if we've got ECE. If we do, we're not really going to touch on it in this meeting. You may still find some things useful, but so primary, secondary. I'll carry on while you're popping those in, but that would be really useful if you could. And we'll move on to introduce you to the perm team. Cal.
Thank you. Yeah, so we work really closely across the 6 offices. Sometimes educators come to us and they're not sure what state they want to go to. It just depends on the opportunities that come through. So I guess Hannah and I, or Jake and I, have some crossover. I look specifically after maths teachers, which I'll touch on next. So I actually had a maths teacher today that's based in Sydney, but she's thinking about moving over to Perth. So I passed her details on to Jake as well. So as I mentioned, we're all subject specialists. So I just look after any maths roles or and maths teachers that come through based in Sydney. So down in Melbourne, we've got similar setup where Oliver, he looks after any maths roles. And then there's a specific English teacher consultant, there's a specific science teacher consultant, primary teacher consultant, and so on. I guess we've been in Australia for 20 years. So we have really just developed strong relationships with schools. They'll sometimes give us a heads up before a role's advertised, or that we even have relationships with some of them. They know that we interview teachers through the year that might not be thinking about coming over for 12 months or 6 months, but they're happy to hear from us and say, look, if you've got a really strong maths teacher with, say, IB experience or something like that, they're happy to see it and be quite proactive in that space, because they judge they appreciate our judgment and trust us as well. And personalised career support as well. We check in with all the educators as they're placed, and there's plenty of educators where we've helped them through their journey, where you place them as a teacher, maybe their first couple of years out. In a few years' time, they'll come back to us and say, I'm looking for that next step, whether it's pastoral or curriculum leadership, and we help them with that next application as well. We'll touch on it a little bit further. We've also got an exec team. So I'm not sure if we've placed like a graduate and gone through and supported them with a principalship yet, but there's definitely opportunity right for those senior leadership positions as well.
No.
Okay, this one's me. So getting into how we can help you guys as teachers who are interested in coming over from New Zealand, first and foremost, it's a free service. We work with you guys. It's absolutely no fee to you. It doesn't lock you in. It doesn't stop you from doing your own thing or having a look around yourself. We are a conduit. We're a support service, and we support you the whole way through. So first and foremost, we have a chat. You reach out. We get to know you. We find out what it is you do, what you're teaching, what you're currently doing in your home country or your home state, and have a bit of a chat about where you want to go, where you're thinking about living, and what would be an ideal role for you. Always looking into, public, independent, faith-based schools, just trying to get a read on what it is exactly is the right job for you and where you want to be. Once we've got your name out there to some schools, particularly if we're seeing interest from schools, we can help you with that interview prep. We can get you ready for an interview. We can support you to get some information about the schools that you might be interviewing for and get you as ready as possible, knowing that, teachers, we're always out there performing in front of the kids, but interviews can be quite intimidating. So we're more than happy to help with the interviews. We can be a mock interviewer for you and be the scary person to practice on. As I've already said, matching you to the right school. There's a school for everyone. There's a place for everyone to go. It's all the way from the very, very, very top tier independent schools into the Catholic system, into public schools. One of the great things about the Australian school system is there's such a variety of contexts, such a variety of locations, and just there is really a school for everyone, everything from day one grads to the most experienced teachers out there. Again, we get your name out there. I'm sure it's the same in Sydney. It's the same in Victoria. Schools call us up and say, hey, we need an English teacher in 2 weeks. These jobs aren't advertised. They're those little ones where we say, hey, I know this teacher from New Zealand. They'd be fantastic for your job. So we've got that inside line with a lot of schools that we work with in all the different sectors. Digital interviews. So we facilitate a school working with you, doing these sort of online calls, online Zoom interviews, with the dream for us always being is that we secure you a job before you land. That's a really great outcome for teachers and for schools. You have that comfort knowing that when you arrive, you've got a little bit of lead-in time and you can get straight into it. The other one finally is helping you understand what the salaries are like, what your regional incentives are like, and what the benefits are. I think finally with that one, certainly we see it in WA. We also provide somewhat of a real estate service and a context and an introduction to the city service. It is really intimidating, and it can be really intimidating, the idea of moving from a different country to a new city. So it's just fantastic to talk to someone who lives here, who's a local here, who can talk you through, where are some good spots to live, what's it like living in the city, and what's it like working in schools over here. It's just developing a relationship between us and you guys and making you feel as comfortable as possible and finding you a great job.
That's great. Yeah, so just a snapshot of where you can work. So obviously we've got Jake, Hannah and Cal on tonight. So that's Perth, Sydney and Melbourne, kind of their bases. But we do also have an office in Adelaide that's Russell covers South Australia. We have a team in Canberra, and we've got a perm team in Brisbane as well who cover Queensland. So although they're not on the call tonight, we do cover all of those geographies for permanent opportunities as well. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that now, and pass back over to Cal, who's sitting in Sydney.
Thank you. Yep, as mentioned before, I'm based in Sydney, but yeah, we have quite a reach around all of New South Wales as well. We've actually got now 3 consultants working in different regions of regional New South Wales. So yeah, permanent roles. We've got an early childhood team, and then the primary, secondary, and then SCN or special needs as well. We've got Simon, who's our state manager. He leads a lot of the leadership and executive roles. So as I mentioned before, if anyone's got, I guess, principal or deputy principal experience and they're looking to transition over, we have those searches as well. We've got Metro, Sydney and regional options. Regarding our regional options, I guess if you're not aware, and it's the same in every state, there's more of a need in regional places as well. So they might offer more incentives of short-term accommodation or relocation assistance as well. And those schools, because there's such a shortage, they are very proactive as well in being, I guess, securing those online interviews and acting quite quickly. Sponsorship, it is more likely if that's your need once you're in New South Wales. So that means, I guess, coming over on a working holiday visa or a similar visa like that. We do have relief teaching as well if you want to come over and dabble in a few different schools and a few different environments. We've got that across all the events there as well. And educator events, we have those usually twice a year as well. So have a lot of international educators, obviously from New Zealand, South Africa, the UK as well, plus a lot of other geographies. So we just bring them together and hold a bit of an educator event so everyone can connect and collaborate as well. Our teaching registration in New South Wales, it's called NESA. You can only do that once you're arrived in New South Wales. So it's a little bit different to other states when you can apply while you're abroad. New South Wales, what you need to do is get your Working with Children's check. You need to do that in person, and you can't finish your NESA application until you have your Working with Children's check. It says that usually 1 to 5 days. It usually can even take a few hours as well. We've had people, you could do a lot of paperwork in there as well, like getting your driver's license or something like that. By the time they leave the service New South Wales, it comes through. So once you get that, you apply for your NESA. That takes around 2 to 4 weeks and is $100 a year. As Claire's mentioned quite a few times, New Zealand mutual recognition, and other countries will get provisional registered as well. So even if you're here just on a holiday or whatever as well, you can get your Working with Children's check and then apply for your NESA while you're abroad. And the last point's quite important as well. You can still secure an interview and a role even without your NESA. We'll just communicate to schools that if you've got New Zealand teaching registration, obviously we'd be able to get mutual recognition. If it's from another country, we'll just make sure we verify that as well. And we believe you'll be able to get NESA. The next one, I think, is me as well. Is it Queensland?
No.
Victoria, no. I'll pass it over to you, Hannah.
Jumping on mine. So I mentioned earlier, I'm based in the Victorian team. So this slide tells you a wee bit about some of the opportunities that are based in Victoria. You'll see the little Scan Me QR code there. That does link to a Facebook page. We will often put opportunities that we're supporting at the time. So if you do want to have a little bit of a nosy and any insight into some of the roles that are out there, we also pop on things like resources, and it's also just a nice place to ask any questions and have a bit of a community of educators as well, if that's of interest. very similar to New South Wales in terms of what we cover in Victoria. We support contract and permanent roles, as well as CRT or casual relief work, through primary, secondary, special education, and with our early childhood team as well. So we sort of tick all those boxes there. We've got quite a large leadership and executive team now. So if you've grown from a teaching role and you're looking at taking on some further leadership and responsibilities, we can support you with looking at what's available in that space as well. We've touched on the relief teaching there as well. We cover most of regional Victoria these days. So all throughout metropolitan Melbourne, but then also right out until all of the areas of regional Victoria up until the borders. So if you're looking for something that's regional, you know, a couple of hours out of Melbourne, right the way through to something a little bit more rural that's a wee bit further out, we can have a look at what's available for you as well. There are incentives available particularly for a lot of those regional or rural roles that are there. That's a bit of a case by case that we can talk you through depending on what you're after as well. And much like New South Wales, again, we also have the educator events, which is just a nice time to come together as a community, meet some new people if you're new to the country. And we tend to have them a couple of times, one usually about in the middle of the year and then one at the end of the year.
Steve's just pointed out that the QR code isn't linking. So I've said we're going to send out an email of the recording, a follow-up email in the next couple of days. So we'll put the link on for that there. Is that all right, Hannah?
Sounds good. All right. So registering in Victoria, the body that you would register with in Victoria is called the Victorian Institute of Teaching, or commonly referred to as the VIT. The great thing about VIT is that you can do it when you're offshore in New Zealand. Usually you sort of need one of three things. You've sort of got to be about at the 6-week mark from coming over, either have a job offer, or if you're coming from somewhere that requires a visa will get that going for you as well. It can take between 2 to 6 weeks, depending on sort of their capacity and their number of applications that they're working through at the time, and costs sitting at about the 191 mark at the moment. We've touched on that mutual recognition pathway, so if you hold New Zealand teacher registration, then it should be fairly straightforward for you to come across and gain it that way. And much like Cal mentioned there, there's a little bit of a misconception that you have to hold the registration before we can start making a plan and exploring opportunities, but schools are very open to seeing teachers that don't quite hold the registration yet, but we've sort of done the background checks and we're on the path heading toward that direction. And I think we might be handing off to Jake to talk a little bit about Western Australian opportunities.
That's WA. It's a very big state, as you can see from the map. We've got everything from if not the longest, then one of the longest metro regions on Earth, as I found out yesterday, driving 300 and something kilometres south to north and back again. But also, you know, coastline down south, all out in the regional areas, and then the very big far north remote areas where benefits and bonuses are really high and really interesting. We do permanent and contract roles, everything from your kindy all the way up to year 12. Same with SEN teaching, special needs teaching. We've got a small office. We're a small team here in WA based in Osborne Park. And like others have said, we're doing educator events twice a year, but plenty of opportunity over in WA at the moment, particularly in public schools, and particularly if you're interested in working in the suburbs out in the city. Registering to teach in WA, I was told this afternoon that apparently the TRB, the Teachers Registration Board of Western Australia, is the good one, apparently, is the easy one. It can all be done while you're overseas, which is fantastic. Mutual recognition can take, you know, if you're lucky, it might take a week. Unlucky, it might take 4. Bearing in mind other countries, if you're coming from somewhere that's not that mutually recognised, it can take up to 10 weeks. So it is important to get on the front foot with your TRB. As I said, as we've seen there, application fees around $180 with an annual renewal. Much like in New South Wales, we also have a Working with Children's card. It is a paper form, but it is really easy to complete. We can sign it off for you here in the office. And in Western Australia, you can begin teaching when you've got a receipt of application for your Working with Children's card, which is really, really fantastic and easy to do. Much like other states, schools are more than happy to have a chat with you, and often we'll be able to give you a contract before you've had your TRB application completed. And in the worst case scenario with applying for TRB and they're not coming through, you can also begin teaching on what we would call a LAT, a limited authority to teach, in the interim before you have your teaching registration approved. So lots of good things with the TRB, and is relatively quick and easy if you are coming from New Zealand.
That's an impressive waterfront, Jake.
Yeah, Elizabeth Key. It is very nice.
It's
only just been spruced up. It is it is a beautiful city, Perth. There's a lot to like about it.
Yeah, that's good. I think we're looping back to you, Cal.
Yes, so up in Queensland, so we have relief teaching just for our early childhood educators. We do work on permanent roles across the board, though, so similar to other states, of early childhood, primary, secondary, and special needs, similar to everywhere else as well, leadership and executive roles, so those really senior roles. There is definitely a growing amount of regional opportunities there. We get a lot of inquiries, or the team up there, about Sunshine and Gold Coast. It's very competitive for teachers up there, so they often encouraged, I guess, maybe Brisbane or a little bit more inland as well to start off with and get some Queensland teaching experience, and then you might apply from there as well. Especially during COVID, a lot of teachers moved up north. I was based in Melbourne there, and we lost quite a few up there, so it's a bit populated up there. The office is in Brisbane, in Fortitude Valley, so pretty much central Brisbane. Similar, they've got educator events up there, and I can't read that last dot point, but it's got great public transport as well, which is a little bit different to Sydney, or parts of Sydney, I should say.
Everything's good compared to New Zealand, where
the teaching registration up in Queensland, it's called QCT, similar to most other states except for New South Wales. It can be done online, or even when you arrive. It takes 2 to 4 weeks and costs $305 for that application, and then $100 every year after that. I was going to keep running with this. Similar, Northern Territory, there's a growing amount of incentives. It's quite regional and remote communities out there as well. So definitely permanent and contract roles in primary and secondary. Unfortunately, no early childhood service for us just yet. It is definitely a unique professional experience, and Jake could probably comment on the regional and rural experience quite a bit more. Accelerated career development, probably Jake can comment on that as well, where opportunities, if to get into that senior leadership or that principalship, as he did, there's definitely opportunities there as well. Lifestyle and adventure, and there's definitely being a close-knit communities out there as well. Being a smaller population, there's definitely that connection to the community.
I'll do a little spiel about regional incentives and stuff if you want. So as Callum's pointed out, I do look reasonably baby-faced to have been a school leader for 10 years. But yes, so I did 4 years up in the Kimberley. So if you look at that little parallelogram up in the north of WA, I taught up there and out in the desert for 4 years. Similar bonuses and benefits up there too in the Northern Territory. Your sort of standard fare in the remote system is a yearly bonus of about $15,000. Completely free housing, free power. In Western Australia, remote bonuses also include 3 flights home return every year. So, and by those flights home, you can fly back to New Zealand 3 times a year. So really great incentives. And when it comes to the career progression, I was a deputy principal at 25 years old and then a principal at 30. So there is a lot of opportunities if that's your thing, and the adventure is absolutely fantastic. Everything from the desert all the way out to the coast, and it is an incredible experience if it's something that you're interested in. If you are a teaching couple, I cannot recommend it enough. Young teaching couples, the work is up there, and it is really an experience of a lifetime. So don't be shy to head up there.
Sounds great. We actually got a couple of roles through for that last week too. So yeah, we've got a couple of.
Registering in Northern Territory, it's called the TRB. Again, it can be done while you're overseas. The Working with Children's check takes 3 to 12 weeks. It's around $81. And then the TRB registration can take up to 10 weeks as well. It's $161 and an annual fee of $105. So we know it would be a lot easier if we had one Australia-wide, but apparently it's not something we're implementing at the moment. So unfortunately it is, state by state. And similar to New Zealand, to like New South Wales, you can get mutual recognition. If you get NESA in New South Wales, you decide to move to Queensland or Victoria or WA, you can just get mutual recognition for each state as well, which comes through a little bit quicker.
Thanks, Carol. And I'll talk for South Australia. So we've got the office in Adelaide, and they have placed a lot of educators regionally in South Australia as well, sort of all along the coastline there. They do a little bit of ECE relief, but mainly permanent roles for ECE primary, secondary and SEN, and like the other states do offer opportunities and executive roles as well. The registration is able to be done before you arrive. It's still a little bit of a process with the paperwork, but I've just had an educator who's managed to get it sorted before she's got there. So, and like other states, you can be offered a role before you gain your registration there. So like all the registrations, you will be offered support at time as well. So we will support you through this process on hand when you're actually doing it. And throwing it quickly back to you, which state are you interested in? We've all had a bit of a sales pitch, and you might have friends or family somewhere there. Maybe you're still open or it's up in the air, but let us know what state you like the sound of, or maybe you've already committed to going. I know a couple of names on there that I've spoken to already. All right, moving along. So types of schools we work with. Hannah, got down for that one.
Thank you. So we've touched on a few of these as we've sort of made our way through here. We essentially work with all varieties of schools across Australia. So depending on where you're going, again, your consultant will be able to guide you in terms of, which type of school has the most opportunities and that sort of thing. But that sort of covers anything from private and independent schools, faith-based schools like the Catholic system, mainstream government schools, particular special education schools. And under all of those umbrellas, there's also a variety of co-educational schools and single-sex schools that fall under them as well. So unlike New Zealand, that only has a really small handful of all of those sort of alternative settings like the independents and the special educations and things, it's a much broader industry in Australia. So I sort of put that into context for Kiwis to say that likelihood is in somewhere like Melbourne, there's probably more private, independent, faith-based and special education schools as there are in all of New Zealand. So it's hard to conceptualise when we come from a place that has only a few of those, but just sort of know that there is a huge industry of that over there as well.
Okay. This is me. So talking about paying conditions, the most important thing for teachers. I will speak a little bit WA specific, but I know that things are somewhat similar from state to state in Australia now. Release time, which is a massive thing. I have found out that New Zealand teachers don't get a lot of release time. In Western Australia, primary school teachers get 270 minutes of release time every week. So that we would call it duties other than teaching, DOT. So that's planning, assessment, meetings, those sort of things. Secondary teachers get 320 minutes and ECE teachers get 320 minutes as well. So that's the equivalent of a full day every week for planning, marking, assessments, whatnot. Timetable load, again, WA, secondary teachers will generally at a full-time load teach 5 lines or 5 classes of their specific subject. They'll often teach one subject in a pure manner or possibly 2, depending on the size of the school. In a primary school context, you generally have your class that you teach 4.5, just over 4 days a week. And we also then do have specialist roles within primary schools. And I think that's also true in Victoria and New South Wales as well, isn't it? You'll have your primary PE, primary music, primary science, those sort of things. Extracurricular expectations do vary a lot from state to state and type to type. So generally with the independent schools, you may also be coaching a sport or running an extracurricular activity. Public schools, generally you teach and you teach your subjects, and that's about it. Thinking about pay, this is, here we go, there's another good thing to promote WA. Starting salary in WA is $85,600 these days, and then maxing out at around $130,000 Australian for teachers. Again, it does vary state to state, but I think that's somewhat comparable from state to state these days, Cal. I think you guys get paid a little bit more in Sydney, but that's, there's some reasons for that. The big one that, again, we're finding out with New Zealand, Australian superannuation. So we've just gone from having an 11% contribution to superannuation from the government to 12%. So you've got your base pay. So if you're a first year teacher on $85,000, on top of that, you'll also receive 12% of that per year into your superannuation. So it is a really good, it is a good system for paying conditions. Then we also have, if you are going regional, the benefits that come along with regional and the bonuses there. So lots of things to like, and it is true state to state. All states have really good conditions when it comes to pay, release time, timetables.
Yeah, it's definitely lots of draw cards for sure.
Okay, this is me. So thinking about when to apply, when to move over. It is fantastic. All states in Australia now are running on very comparable timelines. We run a 4-term system. So the school year starts generally at the very end of January or the very start of February. And then those 4 terms of 10 weeks. In an ideal situation, and I know it is difficult and it is challenging and person to person, but if you're looking to come over for the start of a term, the term before, the start of the term before, reaching out to us, having a chat with us, getting prepared, getting your travel dates organised, that gives us the best possible opportunity to have a placement for you, have a school to drop into for the start of the next term. So, if you are looking to arrive in the middle of July, talking to us through April and getting ready, getting registered, and hopefully us securing you a position for the start of that term 3. Big hiring times, it's going to be much the same as in New Zealand. We have in WA, I'm not sure if it's the same in the other states, we have a really big hiring push through in between term 2 and term 3. We do see a lot of contracts end and a lot of positions come up. And then throughout term 4, leading into term 1, lots and lots of work going. In Western Australia as well, we do have a very specific thing where through November into January, Department of Education schools can only hire people who don't already work for the Department of Education. So there's a real race for teachers over the Christmas period and into early January as schools are looking to fill contracts and permanent roles that have come up over the Christmas break. Similar for you guys in the other states? Callum's nodding. Yep.
Yeah, very similar. If you're looking at 2026, for example, term 3, and then just gets busier from the start of term 3 right up until Christmas, potentially some in January as well.
And last question, if you've got any ideas on, and you may just be initial stages at the moment, but if you've got any plans when you're looking to go, if you pop that in the chat, give us a bit of an idea on who we've got coming. And while you do that, we're just going to pop up some hot jobs. These are some current roles that the team have got going. Obviously, there's multiple roles, but it'll just
How
give
long
you a
would you
little
like us to speak for, Claire?
Yeah.
So this is me first up. What I have had today, 3 separate schools call me up for D&T teachers. So we are really looking for D&T teachers, both in the independent system and in the government system. And to be honest, the same is true of your maths and English as well. So secondary maths teachers, secondary English teachers, secondary D&T teachers, lots and lots of work available in the public system and the independent system for those secondary subjects at the moment.
Nice. I'll jump in and speak to the Victorian, which is the second on the list there. We've essentially got roles across the board in any subject. So if you're a teacher of any kind, then you should be sorted. But the one that we've popped in there in particular is a chemistry role. There's a particular need for both maths and science teachers of any specialty there. At the moment, as we're sort of coming to the end of term 2, there is a little bit of a focus on term 3 and 4 contracts at this stage. And then as we sort of transition through these coming weeks, we'll get a big push as we start to look to 2026 and term 1.
Perfect. I've stolen the last two. It's supposed to say all boys independent school. So currently looking for a maths teacher. It's based in the eastern suburbs. It's a full-time permanent role. It's quite a prestigious all boys school here in Sydney. And the second one is a co-educational school. It's based in the Northern Beaches. So if people have heard of a place, Manly, it's not too far away from there. They're looking for a TAS food teacher. It's pretty much as soon as possible start. And why I brought that, it's quite rare to have a sign-on bonus in Sydney as well. That the deputy principal called us today and said they're happy to offer a sign-on bonus, which I've probably only seen 2 or 3 times up here in Sydney. So a bit rare.
What is that, Cal?
Essentially, they're offering $10,000 for if a food teacher is to sign and accept this particular role with them.
I used to teach home ec, Cal.
I wish I taught home ec.
Yeah, not well, but I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's not too bad there. So, mate, $10,000 will pay for your flights.
Jeez,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of jobs on the website as well, but the best way to find a job is connecting with the perm team, and then they'll do all the hard work for you and put the jobs in front of you.
All right, I'll jump in here talking a wee bit about our community and the events that we throw. I think we've all sort of touched on it as we've made our way through here. All of the states essentially will throw events, which is all about building that community and giving you guys an opportunity to meet other educators and to come and spend some time with the consultants that you've worked with as well. So depending on where you are, if you're sort of coming contract and perm side, you'll be invited to all of those events. If you're looking to come and do some CRT, there's a whole heap of events that the CRT team will host as well. So it's a great time to come and like I say, meet new people and find a little bit of a community. We've popped the link to the Facebook group that's in there as well, which is just another page where you can go and connect with other people that are making their way to Australia soon.
And you've got your own Facebook group too, don't you, Hannah, for the regional Victoria?
Yeah, we do. We've got one for independent and Catholic roles or jobs that you're interested in Melbourne, and then there's also a specific Facebook group for anyone who's interested in regional or rural roles as well.
Okay, we'll chuck them in the email, the follow-up email that we send out as well. I'll grab those. Okay, so we've done pretty good for time, actually. We just sort of, so the process, so next steps, where to go to. So initial contact, I have spoken to some of you. I recognise your names on the call, but the first steps is to have a chat with me here. I'll find out about what your sort of plans are, and then from there connect you to the right team. If you say that you're a maths teacher and you're wanting to go to Sydney, then you'll be talking to Cal. If you're heading to Perth, then you'll be getting to know Jake. So handing you over to the team there. And as they said, that's a big part of their thing, is getting to know you, and so they can get the right fit. From there, they'll start sourcing roles, trying to put digital interviews in front of you, matching your preferences, and then hopefully, next step is the job offer. Compliance side of things for permanent roles is generally covered by the school, but we'll support with that as well. It does help in the early stages if you are able to provide us with referee details. That really helps the perm team on their side when they are speaking to their schools. And then, as Hannah mentioned, once you're there, we are still helping, we're there to support you. You're invited to events, and there's over 200 consultants on the ground in Australia. So we're not sending you there and leaving you alone. You're going to a solid network of support on the ground in Australia for you. So we are going to, I don't know whether we've got to all the questions in the chat. If you do want to take next steps, if you're looking at starting in term 1, which a few of you are, 2026, it is a good time to get the ball rolling now. We do have a few meetups in the school holidays as well in Auckland and in Wellington, but you can book a call if you scan the QR code. It'll take you straight through to a booking link, but I'll also send that through on the follow-up. So we will roll into questions. If it's easier, feel free to unmute yourself and you can chat that way. We'll just, is there any questions that we've missed? Have you guys gone through, we may have, that we can talk to?
I think we've covered most of them in there.
Isabel, we have had people going to get their Working with Children's on a 2-day trip. But you just need to make sure that you're there on a weekday, and you can have all of your NESA application ready to go so that as soon as you do get your Working with Children's check, you can just upload it and submit it. Cal, would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I can't multitask. I was reading the question and then, but I feel like I should have agreed.
Just jump in if there's any that you see that you...
So with accommodation, obviously it will vary state to state and will vary greatly based on your preferences about where you're living, where you're working. Certainly speaking to Perth, there is, rentals can be a bit tricky to come by in Perth. However, as you go out into the suburbs, which is generally where you're likely to find a position, there are plenty of rentals available. It can be a little bit tricky organising it. However, again, we're here to support. We can support you with some guidance about what might work well and what's good with transport. So as you start to narrow down your search into which state and which region, we can certainly help you, and our consultants will be able to point you in the right direction.
With Steve, with the digital technologies, it depends on the state what it's actually called. It's computing up here in New South Wales. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of transferable knowledge there. There might be some little variances, but digital technologies teachers can be tricky to come by as well. They're not going to throw you right into your Year 12 class. They would obviously just put you in maybe a Year 7 or 11 class or something, so you don't have those HSC exams first, but definitely a lot of transferable knowledge and skills.
Yeah.
Al and Jake, since you've taught in Australia, your thoughts are Amy's question is quite interesting. They elaborating on the Australian system. Would you say it's similar to IGCSE at all, or not really, with the exam base?
So I'll speak to WA. WA has a very interesting senior secondary context. So particularly in the public system, we don't see a lot of exam-based work from Year 7 to 10. As you move into Year 11 and 12, we have ATAR, so the Australian Tertiary Admission Ranking exams. About 42% of all Year 11 and 12 students are doing ATAR level subjects. And I would say it's going to be comparable to most exam-based environments, not having taught in New Zealand. In Western Australia, you also have essentially the tier down from that, which is called the WACE, the Western Australian Certificate of Education. And they are subjects that are slightly less complex than your university entrance level subjects, but also then a mix of TAFE and training as well. So they're for students who are looking to head out into industry after they work. As a teacher, those subjects can be really fun to teach because there is slightly less pressure academically and a little bit more freedom as to how you deliver the information. So there is a lot of variance and there's a lot of different ways to teach Year 11 and 12 in Western Australia, which is really nice. Hopefully that answered the question a little bit. Sorry, I haven't taught in New Zealand.
That was interesting.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, no, I wanted some of that. Kate has asked, in New Zealand, independent schools might be seen as second class on your CV. Is that the case for Australia too? Independent schools. So, Kate, that's like private schools here in New Zealand. I'm not quite sure.
They're highly regarded.
Yeah.
I think independent schools, they're fee paying by the parents, so they're better resource, higher expectations, but I guess not to paint them all with the same brush, but generally better academic outcomes as well, or more co-curricular as well. So if someone's teaching in an independent school, it's highly regarded, and they'll be able to pick up another role in another independent school, or if they apply to a government school, they're likely to sort an interview as well.
Yeah, sorry. So she was thinking charter schools, which is something that New Zealand's sort of been trialing. So it's Kate, it's what we would call a private school. So if you're in Auckland, it would be like St Kitts or Kristen kind of environments. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I think someone's just popping in a few. I will, as I said, be following up with a recording of this session, and I'll be putting in some links in there as well. So it would be great to hear from you at some point. And thanks for joining us. Any last questions? Otherwise, we'll jump off and leave you. Oh, one more. Incentives. One of the things we're looking at starting to use here.
Regional. Basically, the further you go away from a metropolitan area, the better you get. My former wife and I, we used to define what is regional and where the bonus comes from. If you don't have a McDonald's within 100 kilometers, you're probably going to get paid a fair bit of money. So realistically, looking at WA, if you draw a 500k circle, semicircle around Perth, once you get out of the Perth region, you start getting bonuses. The closer you are to the desert, the more money there is and the more incentives there are. Obviously, there's incentives because at times these places can be challenging to staff. But if you look along the coast in Western Australia, places like Port Hedland, Karratha, Broome, they are big cities, big regional cities, but they do come, I think, so we're placing some teachers in South Hedland at the moment. I think it's $10,000 regional incentive bonus, and the rent is $160 a fortnight in pretty much new housing. So there are certainly places that are towns that are still providing good incentives. And if you are a secondary teacher looking to go out there, there is huge demand.
All right.
How difficult is teaching in far regional areas? It can be tricky, but it is also, you often will find that you've got schools that have got really close-knit staff and really supportive principals, really supportive admins. I taught at Halls Creek District High School, which at times has been labelled the hardest school in Australia, and can honestly say it was by far the most fun I had as a teacher, and certainly the best staff culture I was ever involved in. We played whole staff sport 3 days a week. We had a great, we had a roving poker game. We had book club. It was fantastic. Average age of under 30. I think the principal at the time was 32. And it was a really good time. So tricky at times, but also incredibly rewarding.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks to our Oz-based perm consultants and Hannah, New Zealand-based. We will leave you to it, everyone, and look forward to keeping in touch. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.